Good afternoon. My name is Sean McKelp, and today I'll be discussing dispositions to teach. I'll be going over a list of attributes that a teacher should possess and where I think my strengths lie and what I need to work on. Forgive me for having a cough drop in my mouth. I am fighting a bit of the cold, so I think I will go ahead and get started on the dispositions for teaching. Educators should believe that all students can learn and should set and support realistic expectations for student success. Of course, being an educator or an aspiring educator, all students are valuable, all people are valuable, all students have their strengths, all students have their weaknesses, all students have their passions and their prejudice. What we need to do is we need to find those positive aspects and we need to nurture them. I believe that based upon my experience yes, my education experience is limited to basic training where I scream and yell and make a bunch of noise, but I was very good at finding those strengths in people and using them to help take over the weaknesses. So the second attribute, educators should be sensitive to individual learning and social needs students and of students and embrace the cultural diversity of the community. Of course, when you're an educator, you are very much involved in the community, especially students, parents, and of course the community at large, because the community wants to see the children of their community to be educated. This is something that I think I need to work on. Being a very mission-focused person, I sometimes forget about the stuff that goes on the back burner. So I get a little too focused on the task at hand. Like I might focus a little too much on the children and not so much those who maybe not be involved in the students' lives, but still rely on the educators in their school to focus on the needs of the community. Educators should promote social justice and equality, maintain appropriate standards of confidentiality, and exercise fairness in all areas, including assessment. So one thing that I actually gave myself kind of a middle of the road on this one. Yes, people should all be given the same opportunity, but there are some folks, like people who fall behind. You have to give them a little more attention, and the other way around. People who excel, like people who may be a bit head of the power curve, you might give them not necessarily a different opportunity, but you might give them additional challenges while you try to nurture those who may be falling behind a little bit. So I hope I didn't miss the mark on this one, because when you hear words like social justice and equality, of course everybody wants to make sure that everybody gets equality in opportunity. But they're not going to get equality of result. And so, kind of middle of the road there. If there's something I could work on, by all means, please help me with that. Educators should exercise sound judgment and ethical behavior. Of course, that goes without saying. Again, referring to the community again, people talk. If I'm supposed to be a mentor for young people, and if I'm supposed to be a person that these students look up to and want to aspire to be like, I have to set the example. It's like in the military right now. The military is not a job; it's a lifestyle. All right, my troops are. They look at me like they look at the way I raise my children, the way that I am with my wife, and the way that I am with my coworkers. So that's an example that you have to live up to. Educators should promote and support curiosity and encourage active inquiry. Of course, that's absolutely necessary. You want to encourage those creative juices in young people. I often refer to young people as being dry sponges. What does a dry sponge do? They absorb. Educators should model integrity by their work and actions. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Educators should recognize that reflection combined with experience leads to growth as a professional. Absolutely. A teacher that's been teaching for 20 years is going to be better at delivering information than a person who's a rookie. I'm going to use the word rookie for a first-year educator because that's part of the That's part of what we're supposed to do here. We're supposed to refer to ourselves as a new educator. There's one thing I'm very good at. I'm very good at picking the people that I want to learn from, and I'm, being that dry sponge. Educators should model integrity by their words and actions. Absolutely. So I am always very careful about not offending people. I try not to point at people in a threatening manner. That's where we get this nice little drill sergeant knife hand from. That's supposed to be less threatening, even though us in the military, we know better. So, try not to be threatening, try not to make it look like I'm angry. I can be a very, I've been told I'm a very overtaking type of personality, so I need to try and tone that down a little bit. So I gave myself kind of a kind of a ding on that one. Educators should demonstrate professional friendliness, warmth, and genuine caring in their relationships with others while providing intellectual, emotional, and spiritual support. Well, that goes without saying. At risk of sounding like, I want to be a buddy with these students, I really don't. But I do want to ask about how they're doing. I want to ask about how their life is going. I want to ask if they're meeting their goals. And then, of course, with the intellectual, emotional, and spiritual support, being in a public school, you might have to kind of tone down the spiritual support a little bit, but, you can still help with the emotional and the intellectual. Obviously, being an educator, you have to focus on the intellectual. Teachers understand the effect of community involvement and servant leadership as it applies to the welfare of others in the educational setting. Of course, the community being involved, the community votes on your levies. Even the people who don't have children in school, they vote on your levies. And they're not going to be so inclined to do so if you have a dirtbag teacher. That's pretty much the big period at the end of that sentence. Educators should be committed to the profession of teaching and learning. That's absolutely true. I almost gave myself a ding on this one because I'm one of those type of people who all work and no play. Bad news. But you do need to hone your skills and you do need to hone your craft. You need to excel at what you choose to do, especially when you're mentoring younger people. Again, sorry about the cough. And then you can focus on the other stuff, hobbies and stuff like that, So, finally, as far as what does a professional educator look like and how do they behave? I am taking out of consideration what I'm wearing right now. Obviously, I just got off work, so this is professional attire in my, profession. Right? So if I was a teacher in a school, I'm a shirt and tie type of person. Maybe wear a jacket in or something like that. Maybe do a casual Friday type of thing. So as far as the appearance goes. And in the behavior, you got to walk the talk. You got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk. You can't say, you got to be a good person, you got to study and all that, and then not do it yourself. So I think the one thing I need to work on as a first-year teacher more than anything would be maybe try not to be. I got to maybe tone down the basic training instructor a little bit, and focus on the more. Hey, you're a teenager. I need to treat you like a teenager, not a young, not a 20-something, preparing you for a life of service or something like that. I think that's the one thing that I should work on, being a first-year educator. But I do have some time to work on that before I retire from the Air Force. And with that, that is what I think I need to work on and my dispositions to teach. Thank you.